We also are accepting these reports via email at floodrecovery@co.kerr.tx.us. Repeating, floodrecovery@co.kerr.tx.us. Please provide the last known location, identifying information if possible. We appreciate the assistance we're receiving from all levels of government, from local agencies to state and federal agencies responding. I tell you, the governor has assured us, along with the federal government, that we will have all the resources we need, and we do have that. We've got all the resources we need. We're in really good shape to keep going for several more days. I want to tell y'all something. I appreciate y'all's cooperation. We will try to get you as much updated information as we can starting tomorrow at 10 and 3 o'clock. Once again, as your Kerr County Sheriff, I assure you we're going to do everything along with our partners, and we'll be on this till we find the last body. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our city manager, Dalton Rice.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good evening. Dalton Rice, the city manager for City of Kerrville. Mayor Herring wanted me to just give a message. He's out with the teams. He's kind of checking on everybody, just like everybody else. We all need to take downtime to include y'all. So make sure y'all are taking care of yourselves as well. We're in a marathon, and we got to make sure we always think about that and look after each other. So a couple updates. Since 6 a.m. this morning, we've had a combined primary clear, so aerial and ground, of about 100-meter distance on either side of the Guadalupe River from 1 mile north of Camp Mystic up through Hunt and Ingram. So we talked about that briefly this morning. Excuse me. We talked about that briefly this morning. So 100 meters on each side, they are continuing operations on that. We are also working on operations within the city of Kerrville as well, again, along the riverbanks as, since the waters have receded some. We are working on, again, we talked about downtime. We are working on locations for first responders to make sure that they do have, their adequate downtime and their rest. We're constantly going through kind of shift management cycles to make sure that our first responders and our crews and teams are taken care of. Public Works, so water is looking good. We've identified some leaks. We've been able to shut those leaks down or isolate those leaks. We will be likely operating off of well water probably for the next foreseeable about 4 weeks is what we're projecting. So we're not going to be pulling surface water for about 4 weeks. With these type of events, there's a lot of debris, there's a lot of chemicals, a lot of gasoline, a lot of other contaminants that are in there. We are working with TCEQ and other partners in there to make sure that we get these issues addressed as quickly as possible. We get a lot of information for people who are wanting help. Excuse me. A lot of people who are wanting information to help. Best thing you can do, especially right in your small local area, don't go out into major areas. Public Works mentioned just, hey, pick up a little bit of debris in your trash cans or your trash bags. Keep it local, but stay out of the major areas. Everything is still, very, very dangerous, very hazardous conditions. Let me pull up our KPUB utility report. Of course, it went away. So KPUB still has approximately 600 customers that are without power. The largest remaining outage customers are west of Ingram, south of 39, along South Fork of Hunt. KPUB issued a mutual aid request on July 4th. 50 personnel and utilities and contractors from across Texas are coming in to support operations and restoration. Hunt or South Fork sustained extensive storm-related damage, including approximately 40 downed power poles with widespread tree and flood debris, heavily damaged infrastructure. Restoration in these remaining areas will be lengthy and complex, and customers should prepare for multi-day outages. Customers outside of these remaining areas still experience an outage should report it to KPUB by calling KPUB's outage line at 855-959-2496. But power has been restored to most of the other customers. Like I said, about 600 are still remaining. A lot of the county is also on Aquatexes or private wells. We try to get information on that, but we don't have a lot of information as far as private wells are concerned or the status of Aquatexes. But a big bulk of what we had coming through the Guadalupe is within the city limits, which is on the city limit, or city water supply. Aquatexes and some of those other public water systems are typically outside of what we're thinking is the damage area, but we have not had any reports from Aquatexes on outages. And with that, we will take a couple questions.
The recovery and for some of we're hearing some recovery of bodies in Louise Hayes Park. And the other part of that question is how many red tag buildings are now along the river that the Kerrville Fire Department has issued?
Yeah, so when you talk about red tag, you're talking about like condemned buildings. Obviously out here, the damage is extensive. Right now, we're really focused on life safety. We are focused on search and rescue. Search and rescue is the priority. So we're not really red tagging buildings. Now we do have structural teams come out. They will mark stuff. You'll see spray paint. A lot of that is to identify where we've at least primary searched. But we are not going into the structural side of things unless it poses a risk to first responders. Our primary focus is on search and rescue of every single person involved, and we'll continue through the night to make sure that happens. Yes, real quick, we are finding bodies and stuff. We knew today was going to be that day. So our numbers are going to constantly be changing. We are constantly working on identification and working with our local partners to ensure that we bring in all the resources so we can make sure that we partner with folks.
What is the communication procedure for letting camps and other places on the river know when to evacuate in situations like this?
So each camp is obviously mostly private, or they have different ownerships. And so especially in this situation, so let's talk about this one more specifically. The event happened very fast. Rose over 20 feet, 30 feet within less than a 2-hour time span. On a holiday in the morning, there wasn't a lot of time in this case. As far as warnings, obviously there's a lot of things going around. We want to make sure that we focus on the early level. Regardless of the warning side of things, again, we want to make sure that we take care of our local community and focus on search and rescue operations. So please keep that question. We definitely want to get these addressed, but right now we want to focus on getting everybody that we possibly can out.
Has that number of the Camp Mystic campers at 27 changed?
As of right now, I do not think it has changed. It is still 27. Yes, sir.
Do you know how many people you guys are searching for as of right now, or is there no cap on that number?
So right now, we're kind of looking at this in two ways. Call it the known missing, which is the 27 camp kids that are missing. We will not put a number on the other side because we just don't know. Campers are coming in for 4th of July weekend. People are camped along the riverbank. People are coming in to visit. There's a number that we just don't know yet, and we don't know what we don't know. So as things are starting to develop and as things are starting to move along, we're not going to put a cap on this. We are just going to continue until we find everything else. One more question.
We know there are many children missing. Are there any camps?
Let me give it to somebody else.
Just one question about current rescues. Can you give us a sense about how often you're seeing a rescue, and just in terms of kind of like, for example, when your last rescue was?
So, obviously with the camps, we've been rescuing people out of these camps by the hundreds, all day. So there's a lot of folks that are shelter in place, so we leave them in place to make sure that we get them food, water, and some of these camps actually now are self rescuing, if you will. Maybe that's not the right word, but they are self-extricating, if you will. So they're getting water's down. They're getting their own resources. They're not having to tie up, local and state, resources. We are monitoring them, and they're accounting for their own folks. So that has been going on, obviously, for over 800 plus people, and we're continuing to do that. So, good.
Sorry, one more question. I can absolutely appreciate that right now the focus is finding the missing, and it's a very active search and rescue. But what do you say to the parents that are in grief, understandably frustrated, as to how in the world this could happen? How in the world you could have so many campers in the way of this danger and not taken out of there ahead of the storms?
Yeah, that's the question of the hour. But with these, this is last time it was this bad, and this one is even worse than that. Was 1987. You can't predict it. everybody in the media even knows, everybody who does this and sees this every single day, you have the inverse effect of if you continue to push it, and you see this in Houston areas all the time, you cry wolf. What happens when you continue to ramp things up and you continue to put a lot of information out there? Again, not to harp on the media, but there's a lot of stuff that gets overspun up, and we see that way too often, and then that trickles down. So we did look at stuff. Obviously, I had told the story. I was out on the river trail at 3:30. I left about 4 o'clock. We did not see any signs of the river rising, and by 5:20, we almost weren't able to get out of the park on the upper end. It rose that quickly.
So was it a matter of it just rising so quickly and this being a massive tragedy, or people weren't taking it seriously?
No, this was a massive tragedy, hands down. We are hitting from our, again, flood maps. We're seeing some areas where it's hitting the 100-year flood thing. And again, we talked about the North and South Fork. That water hit perfectly. You heard Chief Nimkid talk a little bit about the wide area. This went from San Angelo to Waco and all. They stage where they can, but you do not know what's going to happen, one, until water falls, and two, the predictions were definitely off. That water and rain fell almost double of what was anticipated, both in the North and South Fork, and converged into one place, and it rose that quick. So thank you.
Sheriff, do you mind repeating the numbers again? The latest numbers, do you mind repeating them again?
Sure, if I got it. All right, so one more time.
Could you get the mic, sir?
Can you get a good mic, sir? Thank you.
All right, so one more time, we have 43 victims who have been recovered. Out of that 43, 28 of them are adults, 12 of them are pending identification, 15 of them are children, and 5 of the children are still pending identification. The next press briefing will be at 10 in the morning and one to follow at 3 in the afternoon. Thank you.
Can you give an updated number on recoveries? No, sir.